Hey, Dr. Gressick, this is Dane. Again, I wanted to respond to the blog 2 prompts. And I'll again just go question by question and address them as appropriate. And if this format needs to be altered for future posts, do please let me know. I'll do my best. I'm often a writer as well, so I can adjust that if you need. So let's go question by question. What helps me remember things best? Mostly repetition or understanding context. Context is key for me, and I'll talk about a lot more later in the blog as far as how it can be made relevant to students. Context is important to me because I was a theater guy in high school, and knowing the context of the lines, knowing the line that came before it, the line after it, and also the character's motivation to say a particular line helped me memorize them very, very quickly. And I think subject matter in school is the same way. If you can contextualize it well, students are more likely to remember it, and I believe Dirksen would agree with me. Personally, mnemonic devices and acronyms also work, but they're kind of secondary in that nature. What can I do in my classes to help students remember things? I would say differentiating instruction so that the intelligences of the Gardner's intelligence theory anyway comes to mind. Making sure that you at least hit a few of those as you go. Hopefully by the end of the year you'll hit all of them several times, but not every lesson is probably equally adherable by every student, so kind of looking to maximize your effectiveness there, but I understand the limitations. Also, as I said, associations and context are key. The book talks about the fact that the more associations you make to a particular topic, the more effective a person will remember it. And it also talks about poorly constructive shelves, and it gives the example of jazz or a jazz shelf in the brain, saying that a person may have a lot of general knowledge about one topic, but they don't have a lot of associations, so it's more difficult for them to pull up, or it just doesn't seem relevant to their life. So in order to avoid that, I would say it's important to consistently tie things to real life so that students can find a context for the knowledge that they're receiving in their own lives, and one that they can believe in. And also just makes it easier for them to remember the actual content, but it also motivates them and shows them how they can apply it later as well. Why is it important to think about cognitive abilities relative to memory when you plan and design learning experiences? Well, simply, the more you understand memory, the more you can make lessons hit the relevant aspects that help things, the relevant aspects of memory and brain chemistry and the way the mind works. And it helps you make lessons hit those things that help things stick in students' minds. Gosh, that's a mouthful. And if you can add an emotional dimension to lessons, Dirksen talks about the emotional context of things too, suggests things like role-playing, acting out lessons for your students or having them act them out, so it'll kind of trigger an emotional response or context for the knowledge you're discussing. Repetition, as I mentioned before, also transfers info from working memory to long-term memory, according to Dirksen. So repeating things in class, that's why review would be important, also helps. What implications do computer-based technologies have on our memories and learning? Are they helpful? Are they detrimental to memories? I don't believe they're necessarily a detriment. I think it's just a change in the way we do things. The internet specifically is a tool that can help us learn more about a larger amount of knowledge, but it also stops us from, I think, entirely grasping some concepts that are more basic, because the internet can easily reveal it. You just punch in a Google search and you find your answer. So I've heard it said that some aspects of modern education are focusing on how they're focusing to teach people how to seek out and retrieve knowledge rather than knowing it intrinsically. And I personally believe that internet and computerized things will simply change the kind of knowledge that we need to learn. If handled correctly, I think we can advance students with it, because the advancement of technology may lead to deeper knowledge because people can focus on different avenues of mental growth, since the internet's already got encyclopedias worth of knowledge on it, so they can develop their minds in different ways because they don't need to necessarily base or put basic knowledge up here, because it's easily findable and it can be applied several times. Thank you, and that's the 5-minute mark.